Okay, guys, welcome to another live. Welcome to another live this evening for those who are joining us. I see Julian is already in. Pleasant good afternoon, Julian. So we're going to wait for others to join and then we'll get straight into it. Again, I want to say welcome. Welcome for those who are joining for the first time. My name is Stephanie Britton. And on this platform, we share international teaching experiences of teachers who leave their home country to come in the United States to work. So we are going to be having a special guest today who will be sharing J2 experiences. I know a lot of the wives or husband, you get that international job and you share this with your spouse and they're curious to know how will this benefit them? Will this work for them also? Or will they just be treading along and then that's it for them? So we have a special guest today who will be sharing J2 experience, what it is like coming here in the United States with your spouse. If you have not liked this video as yet, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed, I know many of you have been watching for some time, but you have not subscribed as yet, go ahead and subscribe and turn your notification bells on. Also, share this video with somebody you know who might need this information today. Over on IG, welcome also. Hi, Sweet Sash. Welcome, guys. All right. So, for those who are not aware, we have created some merch for international teachers. You can check those out. You can look in my IG. There's a link there to check those merch out for international teachers. For those of you who need one-on-one consultant and you think my information can be helpful to you, reach out to me also on IG, send me a private message, and I do offer one-on-one consultation. So I know a lot of teachers are interested in teaching abroad, but you just don't know how to start or where to get that going. So you can reach out to me, experienced international teacher, who would be happy to help. Oh, I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm so sorry about that. So, without any further ado, for those who are on Facebook, thanks for joining. I see those thumbs up from Facebook. Happy Sunday, Diane. I'm sure you're here now. I turned the mic back on. I'm sorry about that. We're gonna go straight into it. You should be hearing now, Sharon. So, for those who are just joining, I said it earlier. We, as teachers, we might get a teaching job back home, but then our spouse wonder how is it that they're going to benefit from a teaching. My wife or my husband is going to teach abroad. How is this going to benefit me going along with my wife or my spouse? So today, Mr. Britton, Carey Britton, will be sharing with us, our special guest, will be sharing with us what it is like to uh, should I say, accompany your spouse to the United States, who is a J1 holder. And this is just for J1. We will have a series on H1 and H4 dependents. So we're going to welcome Carey and just get straight into it. You're hearing me now? Yes, good. So good afternoon, Mr. Britton.
Good
And
afternoon.
thanks for joining us today and to share your experience with our international teachers who might want to share or take along their spouse with them, but are not sure. They're not sure how this process works for international teachers' spouses. So we want to thank you for coming to sharing your experience today. And a lot of teachers will benefit from this information. So we're going to get straight into it. All right. So, Mr. Britton, can you tell us? Because I am curious, and I know a lot of spouses are curious, and they might even be nervous about this part. How did you feel at first when your wife shared with you her plans to teach abroad, knowing you already had your own, you know, you were comfortable in your home country, you had your job, things was going smoothly. How did you feel when you first heard this that she had interest in teaching abroad?
First and foremost, Thank you for having me on your platform, Dr. Britton. Um, I've always been on the outside, but yet on the inside of your platform. I mean, your viewers might see the familiarity with the names. Um, Again, thank you very much for having me on your program. First and foremost, you said persons might be nervous about hearing about the opportunity for their spouses to teach abroad and the possibility of moving with them. That is quite natural because, as you know, as human beings, nervous uncertainty makes us nervous at times. And leaving your home country, your comfort zone, going into basically an unknown situation, it's natural for you to be nervous. So just to get that out of the way, nothing is wrong with being nervous. Um, Upon hearing about the opportunity abroad to teach. Your first question, though, you asked what my reaction was or my feeling was to the move that the news that you or your spouse is going abroad to teach. First and foremost, after you've gotten over that, well, I shouldn't say after you've gotten over that nervousness, but there is going to be some apprehension. Yeah, there's going to be some apprehension. You're gonna wonder what it is all about because you being the J2 dependent, you're not the primary contact for the sponsors. So most of what you get is gonna be secondhand from your spouse. So you're gonna be more apprehensive and more uncertain because you know the primary is the person who has the job opportunity. You're gonna be a dependent. So first and foremost, you're gonna be apprehensive. You're gonna wonder, is this the correct move? Especially if you have a job and you have your commitments, you're gonna wonder, is this move the correct move for me?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I didn't hear a word you said just now.
All right. So I was just asking. So after you learned that, okay, my wife is going to be sponsored a J1 visa, and then I will get the J2 visa, and you found out how this J2 visa work. Can you first tell us how you felt about that? Did it make you feel less uncertain, or did it give you a better feeling to say, okay, at least there is some hope there for me? How did that make you feel after you learn about the J2 visa being a part of, the sponsorship?
All right, so naturally, with more information, your fears tend to ease because you have a little bit more knowledge of what you're getting yourself into. And yeah, as I say, your fear basically eases. It's not gonna be 100% where you're totally I wouldn't even say comfortable, but accepting then of the unknown. Right? But with more information, you tend to get a little bit more comfortable. With me personally, I was in a secure job, and
Yes.
the thought of leaving that sense of security and coming not knowing that you're guaranteed um, a job, it
Yes.
can be frightening, especially if you're a person who it was always your role to be the head and the leader of the family. And the fact that no, you're gonna be a dependent because your sponsors, the stipulation of your, and I think Stephanie is going to get into that later on. The stipulation of your status is that to the strictest um, realm you can take it, you're a dependent. You are a
Yes.
dependent. You might get into further details later, but you are a dependent. They tell you even the money that you earn is not for your spouse. So you being a person who you're used to, you are used to taking care of your family, being out there, being the head, being the leader. Um, you're gonna have to. The role is going to be reversed a little bit because you're coming on the basis that you're gonna depend on your spouse, right? So it's also it can be a ego bruiser for persons who allow their egos to get the better of them. It can also be an ego bruiser.
All right, thanks very much for that, Mr. Britton. I will go in depth as to what you mentioned earlier, but I don't want to over jump or over, some of the questions I have further. But I will talk about that money portion that you just mentioned to us. All right, so it made you feel a little better. So, can you tell us what was the process like to get this J1 visa?
All right. So as you might be aware, the J1 is a non-immigrant visa. So you being in your own country, you have to visit your local embassy. So just like any other non-immigrant visa, well, that I know about, you have to make that appointment at your local embassy. Um, the documentation is different because normally when you're applying for your regular B2, your visitor's visa, um, you have to prove that you can, I don't remember the term, but that you can take care of yourself. You basically
Yes.
have to prove that you have ties in Jamaica.
Yes.
Um, but with the J2 visa, it is slightly different because I am now in a position where I don't have to prove that I can support myself. That would be incumbent on my wife to prove that she can support me. So the documentation primarily, they're basically the same, um, except for the fact that you will receive some documents from your spouse's sponsor, which you will take to the embassy with you. And that document will speak to your spouse's position as well as your spouse's salary. Because at the end of the day, they want to know if he or she is going to be in a position to financially take care of you because they don't expect you to work. You're a dependent, right? So she must prove based on the her contract that she's in a financial position to take care of you. So you're gonna make your appointment at the embassy. You're gonna pay your fees as normal. You're gonna present yourself for the appointment, and you'll be asked the basic questions: who you're going to visit, what kind of work the person does. Even though the documents speak to it, the embassy is going to ask you because they're looking for discrepancies between what you're saying and what you have on the document, right? So
Right.
they're basically gonna ask you your regular interview questions: who you're
Yes.
going to, what kind of work she does, and so forth. For me personally, it was a seamless process. Um, I had already had a visa, a regular B visa. I don't know if that sort of made the process a
Easier.
little easier, but I was basically in and out. Everybody's experience is going to be different. I was
Yes.
basically in and out at the embassy, um, with just a few questions, right? And I might add at the time it was myself and my kids because my spouse went ahead. She went to clear the way for us, and it was my responsibility now to take the kids to the embassy, secure the visas, and then we travel together to join my spouse.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Britton. And I'm glad that you clarified that for us. You said the sponsors provided the paperwork that you took to the embassy. And I think those include like the DS 2019 or whatever else information. And I'm glad that you also clarified that on those documents it shared their spouse's salary, where the spouse will be working and
Mhm.
things like that. And so you take those, as you say, to the embassy, and just like any other visa, you have to answer questions to make sure that what you're saying is basically what is on the
Mhm.
documentation that you took. Very much for very,
Exactly.
very informative. Somebody said, my
Mhm.
husband didn't have any visa before and he was in and out. He said two questions asked,
Mhm.
none
Yeah, it
asked of
can be
my,
very quick. It can be
yeah,
very quick. As I said, it's not incumbent on you to prove that you're financially stable and all of that. Um,
yes,
you don't have to prove that you have a job in Jamaica because, as I said, it's a dependent visa. You're going to
yes.
depend on somebody.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Britton. I like the way you answered that. It was very clear. All right. So my next question is, once you got into the United States, could you just get a job after you arrived?
All right. Notwithstanding that, and I must add, your viewers might know the visa that you have permit you to work and study in the US,
Yes.
right? And it is less restrictive than even your your primary's visa because it permits you, and this is the J2 visa, it permits you to work in any sector except for like military and stuff like that. And it permits you to study um, in educational institutions, right? So it permits you to work, but in addition to the visa, you must get an EAD, which is your work permit, right?
Yeah.
And the work permit usually runs, I think they normally do like a year or over the life of the visa that you have. So if they give you a year, you are permitted to renew it. But you cannot work without this work permit. Despite you have the visa allowing you to work, you need some additional documentation to say, yes, you can work in the US. So,
Okay.
yes, go ahead.
All right. So you said you needed a work permit.
Yes.
Was the process tedious in applying for the work permit? Was the
Um,
tedious process?
no, and I must, for the benefit of your viewers, the process both Jamaica and here to get you streamlined and working, it was pretty seamless, I must add. Um, the work permit, it takes a couple weeks for it to be approved and back to you. But once you have all of the documentation that they ask you for, you have your form completed, and you're able to pass a background check, which I assume you would have been able to pass by the mere fact that you were granted the visa.
Right.
So it shouldn't be, it wasn't a hard process for me. At the
Yeah.
time, the fees were a couple $100. I suspect that they might have been increased by now,
Yes.
but the fees can be or might be the biggest challenge for some people because the forms were pretty much straightforward. You do that, you get your thing signed up, and you get your pictures, and you submitted it, and you waited a couple weeks for your documentation to come back. It
Yes.
wasn't a hard process.
All right, good. So tell us, was it easy to get a job now that you're here in the United States and you now have your EAD in hand, which is the work permit? Was
Mhm.
it hard for you to get a job?
No, it wasn't. Um, and that was like about what 7 years ago. It
Yes.
wasn't hard, and I can tell you, it's even easier now because everywhere you go, there is
A sign
um,
saying they need workers.
help wanted. So it
Mm,
wasn't easy. It took me, well, I didn't start looking until after I got the work permit, but it took me maybe a week. After I got the work permit, I started sending out applications, and within days of sending out the applications, I got um,
interviews and stuff.
offers, interviews, offers. A few of them were in the area that I was specializing in, because I did social work, so social work and human resource, and I got a couple offers that were in the line of my social work degree, caseworkers to be exact. So it wasn't hard for me to get a job. As I said, the work permit allows you to work in most sector except for the military, and which you have to be a citizen. Law enforcement, you can't work in law enforcement as well. So there are certain sectors that you're limited, but you can work across any other sector. Unlike your spouse, who's gonna be
Tying down.
contractually tied to a particular school district. That is not so for you. You can work in a school, you can work in retail, you can work in the hospitals, any other sector,
Yes.
right?
That's the beauty of the J2. I think I like that portion of it where the J2 holder can seek a job wherever he or she feels like he or she wants to work, and if they're offered that job, they can take that job. While the J1 primary holder, you are tied to the school district that your sponsor sponsored you to work. And
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Britton mentioned earlier that even when you come here and you apply for the EAD, I think there's a section on the EAD form that says or asks if you are trying to seek a job to try to support your J1, the J1 holder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't agree with that, and I don't know others in the chat. If you are a J2 holder, if you know somebody who's a J2 holder, how that works. But they're basically saying to you, when you come here as a J1 dependent and your spouse as a J2 holder gets a job, their money is just for them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that
And just to add further, I had to submit a document, a letter, basically to say that the money that I
yes?
earn, whatever earnings, is going to be used for my personal entertainment and not to support my primary, which was my wife. They specifically want you to stipulate that. Um, looking back at it, I don't think there's any way for them to enforce it because they won't know. But they basically want you to know that, listen, it is incumbent on your spouse to support you. You're not seeking a job to support your family. Because if that's the case, then you or your spouse, because she should be in a position, he or she should be in a position to take care of you and not the other way around. But as I said, there's no way of them enforcing that if I make $2, I'm going to spend that $2 and not giving it to my wife. But
Somebody say in the chat, my husband trying to know is not so in this household.
yeah, but that's a
Exactly,
stipulation.
exactly, Dana.
That is a stipulation. You must write and sign that I will not give my wife any money.
But people, viewers, you are gonna stipulate that. But listen, I don't think they can tell you how to run your household because there's no way you're going to know that because you're the independent party, your spouse is just going to want to work. And then all the salary he makes, he puts in his pocket and say, "Oh, the letter did say I'm not supposed to assist you in the house." Right? Somebody say I had to submit a letter stating that I should not support my spouse. That's the same one Mr. Britton is referring to.
Yeah.
I'm not even laughing, Diane. All
And
right, so
I'm looking at your messages before you move on. I see where some people say it took them like 6 months to get
mhm.
your what you want to do, you want to make sure you apply. They tell you what, 90 days in advance.
Yes.
But I can tell you in 2016, when the administration changed, it took some people a longer time. I mean, the first time I applied for it, it took me a couple weeks. But in 2016, I believe, when the administration changed, it took some people a longer time um, to get these work permits, right? So I don't know if
Yes,
that was the experience with that person who um,
yes.
commented in the chat.
Yes, and as Mr. Britton was saying, if you know you apply for the EAD because the EAD, your spouse might have a 3-year visa and they might only put 1 year or 2 years on the work permit, meaning they have to renew it so they can continue working. Do not wait until it expires to put that application in. I think Mr. Britton was mentioning just now, 90 days before it expires, you can go ahead and put in application for the new work permit
Work
so
permit.
that it runs into each other and you don't have to stop working and wait for the work permit to come before you can continue working. Thanks for that, Mr. Britton. What agency should the J2 go to apply for the EAD, USCIS? Thanks for the information, Mr. Britton. Dennis Williams said, thanks for the information, Mr. Britton and Dr. Britton. All right, so let me ask you now, Mr. Britton, what benefits were you eligible to get as a worker? Because let me say why I'm asking this question. As a J1 holder, and I don't know if you guys realize this as yet, we are limited on our benefits when compared to our J2 holders. So, for example, I am the J1 holder, but I'm tied to a school district. I have to get my insurance from the school district. Yes, I can buy private insurance on the market and stuff like that, but I am not allowed to pay any pension with my school district. You cannot pay a pension on your J1 visa. But the J2 might have some different types of benefits. Can you tell us what type of benefits you got as a J2 holder, Mr. Britton?
All right. As I said, there wasn't any restrictions for me where employment was concerned. I was entitled to whatever benefit the regular US born employee was entitled to. And I think that's one of the reasons why they want to make sure that people are lawfully permitted to work, because they know that persons will take advantage of you um, if you're not lawfully eligible to work. So one of my employers, they offered 401k, they offered employee stock option, um, the works. So I was able to participate in all of that. Um, I got my health insurance, right? And as I said, I got my 401k, which is like you contributing to your retirement. Your employer matches that with a certain percentage. So you pay a certain percentage and they match whatever you pay. So I was entitled to all of that. My wife had some sort of, I don't know if I should call it a health insurance, but
No, foolishness.
yeah. So it was my responsibility, and that's one of the things that I had to do, make sure that we were covered um, with some reputable health insurance. So you're
Yes.
entitled to all of that, and you're allowed to participate in those schemes.
Yes. Thanks for that, Mr. Britton. So what we're actually saying is this. As the J1 um, holder, the insurance that you get from your sponsor might not be something that is really effective, or it might not even make much sense when you go to the doctor. So, what Mr. Britton did, and I assume everybody already realized Mr. Britton and Dr. Britton, if you don't know, you don't know. What Mr. Britton did was when he got his insurance from his workplace, I was added to it, and that was a better insurance than what my sponsor had provided. So if your J1 dependent gets a job and that job offers a better health insurance, you can be added to it as one of the dependents, and it works out like that. So you have to find different means and ways of how to figure out how to work out, things for it to work out in your benefit. All
Mhm.
right. Thanks for that, Mr. Britton. Next question now, and I think this is the last one. Would you say it is worth the hassle to travel with your spouse to the USA?
Personal question. Personally, I don't regret it. As I said, it takes a strong person to. I mean, most of us might have our own individual dreams, but when you become a family, you become a union. You have to strike a compromise. So it was kind of hard for me to leave my career at the time, which was something that I was passionate about. Um, I took a chance, and I know it's not gonna be easy for a lot of people. I took a chance. My wife had a dream. I believed in the dream that she had, and I decided that I was gonna take a chance and support that dream. Um, Personally, it was, and this is not based on the family experience. It's based on interactions here. It was a little bit difficult settling in, and I know that is gonna have an impact on how you perceive your move. How difficult was it for you to settle in? Um, how easy was it for you to find a job? It was easy for me to find a job, but um, settling in, especially in the setting that we live, it was a little bit more difficult. You get homesick. Um, you miss Jamaica, right? But the important thing is that you had your family close. So the people who are close to you, you have them with you, right? So even though you miss the relatives, you had your family with you. So that, in a sense, made it a little bit easier for me to adapt. The culture is different, so you have to be aware, be accepting of change, right? You have to be accepting of change. The way we do things in Jamaica is not necessarily the way that we're going to do it here. Um, my first position was a managerial position, and I experienced some tension because I was like an outsider coming in to be a manager, telling persons the best way the organization want them to do their job. So there is going to be resistance, depending on the organization that you're working. There are going to be challenges, right? For me, I have no regrets, right? But as I said, to each his own. But I believe once you come with the mindset to adapt, to change, to make things work, you have a dream, you have a purpose, you will succeed. And most of all, you have your family close to you. If you're a family person, you should not have no problem.
Thanks for that, Mr. Britton. I'm going to backtrack a bit and ask you about what were some of the things that you missed when you talk about you missed Jamaica? What specifically? But don't answer that as yet. I want to share what Mystery Man says. Mystery Man says, I would encourage to work for Walmart. I currently work with them and pursuing a full bachelor's degree free of charge, no strings attached. In the next month, I'm applying for a managerial position. Pay and benefits excellent, no joke. Do you have
Mhm.
anything to add to that? No?
I mean, that's an organization that I can speak to. I worked for 5 years in different managerial position. I was an assistant store manager, a coach at Walmart. And Mr. Man is so correct. Walmart is the biggest employer apart from the Department of Defense in the US. They are the biggest private employer, and they invest a lot in their employees. They train you. The benefits are great, right? But as I said, the culture is different. I came into Walmart, I was an assistant store manager, but the
Sit it.
work, the work and culture is totally different from what you experience in Jamaica. Right? So it's something that you have to be prepared for, the culture of the people. And when I say culture, it is like 10 times harder to manage in the US, manage employees in the US. I know teachers might say the same thing about teaching their students. It
Yes.
is 10 times harder to manage people. I have worked in managerial positions for almost all of my life. I was in middle management in Jamaica. Um, Mostly manage people who are in my age group. But coming into Walmart, you have people who are fresh out of high school, people whose work ethic is like totally different. They're only there for 2 weeks to collect a check. So you know you're going to have challenges managing those individuals. But the benefits are great. Walmart train you for every managerial position. I've been flown across states. At one point, I was in Florida. I was the only person in my classroom, me and my lecturer, for 2 weeks, face to face, and they paid for this. Once you're a manager, they invest in their employees. And as that person said, the benefits are great. You get
Yes.
your stock option, you get your bonus based on your store's sales. So that's a good company, always hiring.
Yes, thanks for that, Mr. Britton. Leighton says, or Latin, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it properly. I love that Mr. and Mrs. Britton, you supported your wife, and that's commendable. Two can't walk unless they agree. Diane says, Mystery Man, that's the great perk of being a J2. You can do any job you want. Yes. All right, so back to Mr. Britton. You did mention some of the challenges like missing Jamaica back when you first came. What were some of the things that you missed back home? Let's see if it's some of the same things that others might have been weary
First of
about.
all, you're going to miss the food, especially if you're where we live. You don't have any Jamaican stores, any one supplying Jamaican food, no Jamaican restaurant. The closest Jamaican restaurant we have is like an hour away, right?
Yes.
So primarily you're going to miss the food. And down here in the south, to me, the food is an acquired taste. It take a little while for you to get used to it, but you're going to get used to it after a while if you don't mind primarily sugar, salt and pepper on your food. So
Yes, that's true.
you miss the food, you miss the little Jamaican vibes. Where we're at now, everyone is far away. If you're Jamaican, you can go look for your cousin, your auntie, your uncle. Right?
Yes.
Everyone is far away. You primarily have to own a motor vehicle where we live because your means of moving about is going to be your private transportation.
Somebody said, why is it that no matter how you season with the Jamaican season, the meat just tastes different here? My gosh.
Yeah, I don't know why. You soak it in vinegar, lime. You wash the chicken, it just have a different taste.
Because it's just not Jamaica this.
Yeah,
And the
it
meat
just
is
have,
different. That too, the meat is different. So guys, we're coming to the end. We're gonna have a question and answer section for maybe 5 minutes. But I want to take the opportunity this evening to thank Mr. Britton, Stephanie Britton's husband, for coming here. For those who didn't know, I just said it. My husband, Carey Britton, for coming this evening to share with us his experience with J2 visa. Guys, he did a tremendous and awesome job. I'm sure I see somebody in the chat says she is so glad that we're having this because she was wondering why her husband had 2 years on his J2 work permit. So we are grateful for you this evening, Mr. Britton. Thanks for coming to share with us. We appreciate you and we want to let you know. Thank you so much for coming to sharing. We're going to take a break so Mr. Britton can maybe have a water sip or something, and we'll be right back after 30 seconds. If you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat. If you have not liked this video as yet, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, guys. Come on now. Give the video a thumbs up. And if you have not shared or subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We'll be right back. All right, so we're back, guys. And now we're going to take questions. We will not be long, maybe 5 minutes. Kim Barrett says, how long did the process take for Dr. Britton to receive DS 2019, then to the embassy to be able to leave to go to the US? Did the process take for me to receive the my program sponsor was Faces, and as soon as I got the word that I was, and I don't know if you're asking me or if you're asking Mr. Britton, so you can clarify, but I'm going to explain my part because you said me. So when I got the job in June and they called to say you got this job offer, we're going to send the paperwork, that came like in 2 days because it was sent by FedEx. It wasn't sent in regular mail. Thanks, Mr. Britton. I like him, Dr. Britton. All right. I'm lucky I live in New Jersey where Caribbean food is everywhere. Good for you, Trey. Thank you, Mr. Britton. Bless up. In New Jersey, Jamaican food, nuff nuff. Really great discussion. You both must do this more often. May I go run, go New Jersey, go get food. Why I one like alone the video? Ask them again, Dana. Why is one like alone the video have, guys? If you have not liked the video, you need to like the video now to show your appreciation. That's all you can do for all the information you get. Give the video a thumbs up. I don't see any questions. We have 4 minutes more to go. If you have a question, put it in the chat box. Any questions? All right. I guess you have gotten all your answers. So we're about to take leave. All right. So big up, Mr. Britton. Excellent job. Dr. B, can a J2 get H1? Yes. If the J2 finds a job that sponsors H1B, if you find a job that sponsors H1B, yes, you can switch from J2 to H1B. Continue to support your family, sir. And remember, your money is her money. Laugh out, Dana. Me like you. Me like you, Dana. Me like you.
It has always been that way, Dana. Both the support and the money. I have been one of my wife's biggest fans, she can tell you. I have been with her throughout the whole starting of the platform, and I'm still here. As I said, I was behind the scenes. It's the first time I've been invited to sit. Well, we started the program together when it was kicking with the Britons. And there's a couple old videos when I was actually on camera. But as
Yes.
part of this program now, it's the first time I'm actually sitting with you, with her. But I've always been in the background, making sure that everything runs smoothly.
Yes. Yes, Dana, you are correct. He needs first to get a waiver to transfer. Whatever you do, you always need a waiver once your country has a waiver on the visa, because not every country has a waiver on the visa. So, Mr. Man, once there's a 2-year thing on your visa, so you have to go home for 2 years, you have to waive that first, and once you get the job, then you can switch to H1B. Yeah. Very informative session, Mr. and Mrs. Britton. Thank you, Miss Wait. Donna Beats a good husband. Ricketts, thanks for that. Somebody said, would the H1B affect my J1 spouse? I'm not sure what she's asking. Yes, I know you were there all along. Also, Mr. Britton joined you to the US. I'm new on here. Hey, Sashani, thanks for joining.
It was you came to June and I came. The kids just started school in September. They did a month.
Yes.
So it was like the end of September.
Yes.
And that was one of the reasons I we didn't mention it. one of the things that we thought about as well, because the kids were in school. One was second farm, the other was first farm. So, and they just started school, and it was like two high schools that they really wanted to go. One was Campion and one was Wolmer's. So that was one of the things that also created some conflict internally, pulling the kids out of two high schools that were prominent and schools that they really wanted to go. So that was also something that weighed heavily on the decision. But I joined her in September. She was June, I was September, end of September, early October.
Okay. Somebody asked something else. Yes, I know you're. I'm new. Yes, Miss White, you have to get the waiver before you can. Once the sponsor, once the job offers you, once they offer you a job and they're gonna sponsor H1B, whichever lawyer is looking about the H1B will ask you for us a waiver. So you're definitely gonna need a waiver. Okay. How soon do you think I can work on the waiver? I really cannot tell you now, Mr. Man, since you just started July. I would advise you to stay on the J1 for a while since you're already working and studying and all. You don't want to start all that right now. I think the J1 has to apply for the waiver and the waiver covers all. There's some way for the J2 to apply for it also, but it's kind of a lot of rigmarole. So that's why I say you can just stay for a while. Do you have to work in the same state your wife works in? Very good question, Sashani. Go ahead, Mr. Britton.
No, you don't. As I said, there's no restrictions. You don't have to work in the same state, and there is no obligation on you to prove that you live in the same household with your wife. So they're not gonna come and run visits. They're not gonna check your mail to see where they're forwarding from, right? So you are free to work in any one of the states.
Any state. That nice, see? Kim is asked, I was asking Mr. Britton how long it took for him to receive the DS 2019. Say, hey, the DS 2019, then to the embassy to leave for the US. The DS 2019.
Okay. Well, as Stephanie answered, the DS 2019 she got with her documents. So I don't remember exactly how long, but
I
I know.
remember. Let me answer that question. So I came here June. And as soon as and this is dependent on the program sponsor because every program sponsor is different. Some program sponsor will tell you that they're not going to give you your J2 dependent paperwork until certain time has passed. With my program sponsor, when I came in June and we came for that 1 week orientation, that first week, I asked my program sponsor for my DS 2019 forms for my family members, and I was presented with all of them that first week when I came, and I could send those back home to Mr. Britton so he could go to the embassy. So you can ask your program sponsors questions like these because some of them do things differently. But my program sponsor was a good one. We got our family paperwork the same week that I got here. Okay? So the spouse can switch, get a job through H2. Kimber, you got at the same time. That's so great. So some program, I got all the paperwork before. Okay, Diane says she got all her paperwork before, and I think the reason and your program was different also, Diane, because your program sponsors they came to Jamaica, correct? They came to Jamaica and did interviews and stuff like that, and so you got all your stuff. So every program sponsor is different. You have to ask the questions to see how it's going to work for you. So the spouse can switch, get a job through H2B. Any switch is possible, but you have to take into consideration if you need to apply for a waiver and if you get somebody to sponsor a job. That's all I can say about that. I got all paperwork. All right, so that's it, guys. Thanks for coming. I think we share with you a wealth of information. If you have not liked the video as yet, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with somebody who would like to get more information about teaching here in the United States. Again, thanks for coming, and I want to thank Mr. Britton again for coming to share with us. So many people in the chat are saying they have learned so much about the J2 visa because a lot of people don't know how it works. Yes, the J2 dependent have the freedom to travel. Listen, this Kimberly look like a joint. The J2 dependent basically have more flexibility than the J1 holder. Okay? They have a lot of flexibility. They can travel, they can work anywhere. They tell them don't give them spouse any money when them work. Them can get insurance, better insurance than the J1. They can what was the next thing we say you can do? Move
Uh,
if you start working on one job and you want to stop today and go on next job next week, they can do that. While we the J1, we have to stay with who we were sponsored to work with. So there's a lot of flexibility with the J2 dependent. Great job, Mr. Britton. Blessings, guys. Yes, them flexible. All right, thanks very much. Thank you, Trishana, for joining, and for others, Kimberly, Donna, big up on yourself. Thank you very much, and we say goodbye. I don't know if Mr. Britton has anything to say.
just
But
thank you for having me, and I'm glad your participants found the session informative. Thank you.
all right. Thank you very much, Francine. Bye.